Sir, I know her husband well. There he is arriving right now. My name is Austin. I am 39 years old, and I work in commercial construction management. I have been married to Vanessa for 11 years. She is the vice president of operations at Clerk, a mid-sized manufacturing company in Spokane, Washington. I thought I knew my wife. The lobby clerk pointed toward the glass doors. A man in an expensive suit walked in, confident, smiling. He did not look at me. He went straight to the elevator. The clerk waved at him. The man waved back. I stood there holding a coffee and a sandwich I had picked up for Vanessa. She had texted me that morning saying she was swamped with meetings and would not have time for lunch. I thought it would be nice to surprise her. I had done it before. She always appreciated it. But now this clerk was telling me he knew her husband, and it was not me. I kept my face neutral. I did not react. I just nodded slowly and said, "Oh, my mistake. Wrong floor, I think." The clerk smiled. He went back to his computer. I walked out of the building and sat in my truck for 20 minutes. I did not call Vanessa. I did not text her. I just sat there, staring at the dashboard, trying to make sense of what I had just heard. Vanessa and I had been together since college. We met at a bar in Seattle during our junior year. She was studying business. I was studying civil engineering. We got married 2 years after graduation. We bought a house in Spokane when she got the job at Clerk. I found work with a local construction firm. Everything had been steady. We did not have kids. We talked about it sometimes, but Vanessa always said she wanted to focus on her career first. I respected that. I supported her. But something had been off lately. Little things. She worked late more often. She stopped inviting me to company events. When I asked about her day, she gave short answers. She stopped laughing at my jokes. She stopped touching me the way she used to. I told myself it was stress. She had been promoted to vice president 6 months earlier. New responsibilities, more pressure. I did not push. Now I wondered if I should have. I drove back to the construction site where I was overseeing a warehouse renovation. My foreman asked if I was feeling okay. I told him I was fine. I was not fine. I could not focus. I kept replaying the clerk's words in my head. I know her husband well. There he is, arriving right now. That evening, Vanessa came home at 8. She looked tired. She dropped her bag on the kitchen counter and kissed me on the cheek. It felt routine, mechanical. "How was your day?" I asked. "Long," she said. "Back-to-back meetings. I barely had time to breathe." I almost told her I had stopped by. I almost asked her about the man in the suit. But something stopped me. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was denial. Maybe I just wanted to see if she would mention it first. She did not. We ate dinner in silence. She scrolled through her phone. I pretended to watch television. When she went upstairs to shower, I looked at her phone on the counter. It was locked. I had never felt the need to check it before. Now I did, but I did not touch it. Not yet. The next morning, I woke up before her. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table. I thought about what I should do. Confront her? Follow her? Hire someone to investigate? All of it felt wrong, but doing nothing felt worse. Vanessa came downstairs in her work clothes. She poured herself coffee and kissed me on the forehead. "I have another late night tonight," she said. "Do not wait up." "Okay," I said. She left. I sat there for another hour. Then I called my sister, Bethany. She lived in Portland. We talked every couple of weeks. She was the only person I trusted with this. "Austin, what is wrong?" she asked. She could always tell. I told her everything. The lobby, the clerk, the man in the suit, the way Vanessa had been acting. Bethany did not interrupt. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. "You need to find out the truth," she said, "but do not confront her yet. Not until you know what you are dealing with." "How do I do that?" "Start small. Watch. Listen. Pay attention to details. If something is going on, she will slip up eventually. I thanked her and hung up. I went to work, but my mind was elsewhere. I thought about the man in the suit. Who was he? How long had this been going on? Did everyone at her office know? Was I the only one who did not? That night, Vanessa came home late again. She said she had been in meetings. She smelled like perfume. Not her usual perfume. Something heavier. I did not say anything. Over the next few days, I started paying closer attention. I noticed she had been getting her nails done more often. She bought new clothes. She wore makeup to work every day, even though she used to complain about it. She took phone calls in the other room. She changed her passwords on her laptop and phone. She stopped asking me about my day. I felt like I was living with a stranger. One evening, I decided to test something. I told her I was going out with some guys from work. I did not go. I stayed home and waited. She came home at her usual time, ate dinner, and went upstairs. Around 9, she said she was going to bed early. I said goodnight and stayed downstairs. An hour later, I heard her car start. I looked out the window. She was driving away. I did not follow her. Not that night. I just sat on the couch and stared at the wall. My wife was lying to me, and I had no idea how long it had been going on. Vanessa and I had built what I thought was a solid life together. When we first moved to Spokane, we were broke. We lived in a cramped apartment with secondhand furniture and a leaky faucet I could never quite fix. She worked as a project coordinator at Clerk. I worked long hours on job sites, pouring concrete and framing walls. We saved every dollar we could. We talked about the future. We talked about buying a house, starting a family, building something that would last. 3 years into our marriage, we bought a small house on the east side of town. It needed work, but I did most of it myself. I redid the kitchen. I replaced the roof. I built a deck in the backyard. Vanessa painted the walls and picked out furniture. We hosted dinners for friends. We went hiking on weekends. We took road trips to Montana and Oregon. We were happy. Or at least I thought we were. Vanessa was ambitious. She always had been. She worked hard and moved up quickly at Clerk. She went from project coordinator to operations manager in 4 years. She earned respect. People listened when she spoke. I was proud of her. I never felt threatened by her success. I wanted her to succeed. When she got promoted to vice president 6 months earlier, I threw her a small party at home. Just a few close friends. She seemed happy that night. She thanked me in front of everyone. She said I had always supported her. She said she could not have done it without me. I believed her. But things changed after the promotion. Slowly at first. She started working longer hours. She stopped coming home for lunch. She traveled more for work. She said it was part of the job. I did not question it. I trusted her. My own work kept me busy. I had been managing a large warehouse renovation project for the past 8 months. It was one of the biggest contracts our firm had landed in years. I spent most of my days on site, coordinating subcontractors, handling inspections, dealing with delays. I came home tired. Vanessa came home tired. We stopped talking as much. We stopped spending time together. We drifted. I told myself it was temporary. Once her schedule calmed down, once my project wrapped up, we would reconnect. We would take a vacation. We would figure it out. But now, sitting in my truck outside a gas station, I realized how naive I had been. The signs had been there. I just did not want to see them. A few months earlier, Vanessa had started going to the gym more often. She said she wanted to get in shape. She hired a personal trainer. She bought new workout clothes. She came home looking refreshed, glowing. I thought it was good for her. Now I wondered who she was trying to impress. She also started mentioning a coworker named Trevor. He was the director of sales. She said he was smart, driven, good at his job. She said they worked closely on a few projects. She said he was helping her navigate the politics of the executive team. I did not think much of it. She talked about other coworkers too. It seemed normal. But then she stopped mentioning him, and that felt strange. If they worked together so much, why did his name suddenly disappear from our conversations? One night, about a month before I went to her office, I asked her about him. "How is Trevor doing?" I said casually. She paused, just for a second, then she shrugged. "Fine, I guess. I do not work with him as much anymore." That pause stuck with me. It felt like she was hiding something, but I did not press. I should have. I thought about my dad. He had been betrayed by his business partner when I was a kid. They had built a roofing company together. My dad did all the hard work. His partner handled the finances. One day my dad found out the partner had been siphoning money for years. He had bought a second house, he had taken vacations. He had lied to my dad's face the entire time. When my dad confronted him, the partner denied everything. Then he disappeared. My dad lost the business. He lost his savings. He never fully recovered. He spent the rest of his life working for someone else, bitter and broken. I remembered how my mom tried to hold things together. She worked 2 jobs. She kept food on the table. She kept us going. But my dad changed. He stopped smiling. He stopped trusting people. He stopped believing in anything good. I swore I would never let that happen to me. I swore I would build a life where loyalty mattered, where trust was not negotiable. Now, I felt like I was becoming him. I called Bethany again. "I think it is someone at her office," I said. "There is a guy named Trevor. She used to talk about him all the time." Then she stopped. "Do you know anything about him?" Bethany asked. "Not much. I never met him. I do not even know what he looks like." "Find out," she said. "Check her company website. Look at LinkedIn. See if his face matches the guy you saw in the lobby." I hung up and pulled out my phone. I went to Keltraforge's website and clicked through their leadership page. Trevor was listed as director of sales. His photo was professional. Clean-shaven, dark hair, expensive suit. It was him, the man from the lobby. I stared at the photo for a long time. My hands shook. I wanted to throw my phone. I wanted to scream. But I did not. I just sat there, letting the truth settle in. Vanessa was having an affair with Trevor, and everyone at her office probably knew. Except me. I thought about the clerk at the front desk. He had waved at Trevor like they were friends. He had smiled. He had no idea I was standing there, humiliated. I thought about all the late nights Vanessa claimed she was working, all the business trips, all the times she said she was too tired to talk. She had been lying. For how long? Months? Longer? I drove home. Vanessa was not there yet. I went upstairs and checked her closet. I found a small box hidden in the back, behind her shoes. Inside was a receipt from a hotel in Seattle. The date was 3 weeks earlier. She had told me she was visiting a client. The receipt showed 2 guests. I put the box back exactly where I found it. The breaking point came on a Thursday afternoon. I had left the job site early because a shipment of steel beams had been delayed. I had nothing to do until the next morning, so I decided to grab lunch and maybe catch up on some paperwork at home. As I drove through downtown Spokane, I passed Keltraforge. On impulse, I pulled into a coffee shop across the street. I parked where I could see the main entrance. I told myself I was just curious. I told myself I was being paranoid. But I stayed. At 1:30, the doors opened. Trevor walked out. He was on his phone, smiling. A minute later, Vanessa followed. She wore a gray dress I had never seen before. She walked up to him. He ended his call. They stood close. Too close. He said something. She laughed. He touched her arm. She did not pull away. They walked to the parking lot together. They got into his car. A black sedan. Expensive. They drove off. I followed. I kept my distance. I did not want them to notice me. They drove west out of the city toward the residential neighborhoods near the river. They pulled into the driveway of a small house. It looked new, modern, probably expensive. Trevor got out first. He opened her door. They went inside together. I parked down the street. I sat there for 2 hours. They did not come out. I did not need to see more. I knew what was happening inside that house. I drove home. I felt numb, hollow, like someone had scooped out everything inside me and left nothing but a shell. I sat in the driveway for 20 minutes before I went inside. I poured myself a drink. I did not usually drink in the middle of the day, but I did not care. Vanessa came home at 6. She looked normal, calm. She kissed me on the cheek like she always did. "How was your day?" she asked. "Fine," I said. "Yours?" "Busy," she said. "Meetings all afternoon." I nodded. I did not say anything else. She went upstairs to change. I finished my drink and poured another. That night I could not sleep. I lay in bed next to her, staring at the ceiling. She was asleep, or pretending to be. I wanted to wake her up. I wanted to ask her why. I wanted to scream at her. But I did not. I just lay there, planning my next move. The next morning I called a lawyer. His name was Julian. He had handled a few contract disputes for my construction firm in the past. I trusted him. I told him everything. He listened without interrupting. "Do you want a divorce?" he asked. "I do not know yet," I said. "But I need to know my options." He explained the process. Washington is a no-fault divorce state. Infidelity does not affect the division of assets. Everything would be split down the middle. The house, the savings, the retirement accounts, all of it. "What about proof?" I asked. "Do I need evidence of the affair?" "Not for the divorce itself," Julian said. "But it might help if there are disputes about custody or spousal support. Do you have children?" "No." "Then it is less complicated. But I would still recommend documenting everything. Take photos, save texts, record dates and times. You never know what might be useful." I thanked him and hung up. I felt a strange sense of clarity. For the first time in weeks, I knew what I needed to do. I needed to gather proof. I needed to be smart about this. I needed to make sure Vanessa could not twist the narrative later. I started taking notes. I wrote down every time she came home late, every time she lied about where she had been, every time she took a phone call in another room. I checked our bank statements. I found charges at restaurants I had never been to, hotels I had never stayed in, gas stations on the other side of town. I also started checking her car. One night, while she was in the shower, I went through the glove compartment. I found a parking receipt from the same neighborhood where Trevor's house was located. The date matched one of her late nights. I took a photo of it with my phone. I felt like a detective in my own marriage. It was exhausting, demeaning. But I kept going. I needed to know the full truth. I needed to know how deep the betrayal went. One evening I decided to test her. I told her I had been thinking about us. I said maybe we should take a trip together. Just the two of us. Get away for a weekend. Reconnect. She hesitated. "That sounds nice," she said. "But I have a big project coming up. Maybe in a few months." "Sure," I said. "Whenever you are ready." She smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. I knew then that she had no intention of working on our marriage. She had already checked out. She was just going through the motions, waiting for the right moment to leave. Or maybe she was waiting for me to leave. Either way, she had made her choice. A week later, I went back to Trevor's house. This time, I brought a camera. I parked down the street and waited. At 3 p.m, his car pulled into the driveway. Vanessa was with him. They went inside. I took photos. I waited. An hour later, they came out. He kissed her before she got into her own car. I took more photos. I had what I needed. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with all the evidence spread out in front of me. Bank statements, photos, receipts, text messages I had managed to recover from our shared phone plan. It was all there. A clear pattern, a clear timeline, undeniable proof. Vanessa was upstairs getting ready for bed. I heard the shower running. I thought about confronting her right then, laying everything out on the table, asking her why, asking her how long, asking her if she ever really loved me. But I did not. Not yet. Because I realized something important. If I confronted her now, she would lie. She would deny it. She would make excuses. She would try to turn it around on me. She would say I was being paranoid. She would say I was imagining things. She would gaslight me the way cheaters always do. So I decided to wait. I decided to be strategic. I decided to let her think she was getting away with it. And when the time was right, I would pull the rug out from under her. Completely. Decisively. With no room for her to spin the story. I gathered up the evidence and locked it in a safe I kept in my truck. Then I went upstairs and got into bed. Vanessa was already asleep. I lay there in the dark, feeling something I had not felt in weeks. Control. I decided to confront Vanessa the following Saturday. I had planned it carefully. I wanted to do it at home where she could not run, where she could not hide behind work or meetings or whatever other excuse she had been using. That morning, I woke up early. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table, rehearsing what I would say. I wanted to stay calm. I wanted to be clear. I did not want to yell or cry or give her any reason to paint me as the irrational one. Vanessa came downstairs around 9. She was still in her pajamas. She looked surprised to see me already awake. "You are up early," she said. "Could not sleep," I said. "We need to talk." Her face changed, just slightly. A flicker of something, fear, guilt. She poured herself coffee and sat across from me. "What is this about?" she asked. I pulled out my phone and placed it on the table. I opened the photo gallery. The first image was of her and Trevor walking into his house. The second was of them kissing. I slid the phone toward her. She stared at the screen. Her face went pale. She opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked at me. "Austin." "How long?" I asked. "It is not what you think." "How long, Vanessa?" She looked away. "A few months." "A few months," I repeated, "which means it started around the time you got promoted." She did not answer. "Do you love him?" I asked. She hesitated. That hesitation told me everything I needed to know. "I do not know," she finally said. "It just happened. I did not plan it. We worked together. We spent a lot of time together. Things just developed." "Things just developed," I said. "That is your explanation?" "Austin, you do not understand. You have been so busy with your own work. We barely see each other anymore. I felt alone." I laughed. It came out bitter. "So this is my fault?" "No, I am not saying that. I am just saying, things have been hard. For both of us. So instead of talking to me, instead of working on our marriage, you decided to sleep with someone else." She flinched. "It is more complicated than that." "No," I said. "It is not." She started crying, not sobbing, just tears running down her face. "I'm sorry," she said. "I did not want to hurt you." "But you did." "I know." We sat in silence. I felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. Just emptiness. "What do you want to do?" she asked. "I want a divorce," I said. She looked shocked, like she had not expected me to say it out loud. "Austin, wait. Can we talk about this?" "There is nothing to talk about." "Please. Maybe we can go to counseling. Maybe we can work through this." I stood up. "You made your choice, Vanessa. Now you have to live with it." I left the house. I drove to Bethany's place in Portland. It took 4 hours. I did not call ahead. I just showed up. She opened the door and took one look at my face and pulled me inside. "I told her I wanted divorce," I said. Bethany made tea. We sat in her living room. She did not ask for details. She just listened while I talked. I told her everything. The photos. The confrontation. The way Vanessa had tried to blame me. The way she had cried and asked for another chance. "Do you think you will change your mind?" Bethany asked. "No." "Good," she said, "because she does not deserve another chance." I stayed at Bethany's place for the weekend. I needed space. I needed to clear my head. On Sunday, I drove back to Spokane. When I got home, Vanessa was gone. She had left a note on the kitchen table. It said she was staying with a friend. It said we should both take some time to think. I crumpled the note and threw it in the trash. Monday morning, I went to Julian's office. I told him I was ready to file for divorce. He asked if I had proof of the affair. I showed him the photos. He nodded. "This will make things easier," he said. "Do you and Vanessa have any joint accounts?" "Yes. Checking, savings, and a joint credit card." "I recommend freezing those accounts, or at least monitoring them closely. You do not want her draining funds before the divorce is finalized." I had not thought about that, but it made sense. What else should I do? Document everything. Keep copies of all financial records. If she tries to hide assets or make large purchases, we need to know. Also, do not move out of the house. If you leave, it could complicate things later. I took notes. I felt like I was preparing for war. Maybe I was. That week, Vanessa came back to the house. She did not say much. She slept in the guest room. We avoided each other. It was awkward, painful. But I refused to leave. This was my house too. I had put just as much into it as she had. On Wednesday, I got a call from Julian. "Vanessa hired a lawyer," he said. "They want to start mediation." "Fine," I said. "Let us get this over with." The mediation was scheduled for 2 weeks later. In the meantime, I focused on work. The warehouse project was almost finished. I threw myself into it. I worked late. I worked weekends. It was easier than being at home. But then something strange happened. One of my subcontractors called me. He said he had heard a rumor that our firm was being investigated for safety violations. I had no idea what he was talking about. I called my boss. He said he had heard the same thing. We had no idea where it was coming from. A few days later, I got a letter from the State Labor Department. It said they had received a complaint about unsafe working conditions on my job site. They were launching an investigation. If violations were found, I could face fines. My company could lose its license. I was stunned. I ran a tight ship. My sites were always clean, always safe. I followed every regulation. This did not make sense. I called Julian. "Can Vanessa do this?" I asked. "Can she file false complaints to sabotage my work?" "It is hard to prove," he said. "But if you can show a pattern of harassment, we can use it in the divorce proceedings." I started digging. I checked the complaint. It was anonymous. No name, no details, just vague accusations. But the timing was too convenient. It had been filed the day after I told Vanessa I wanted a divorce. I realized then that she was not going to make this easy. She was going to fight. She was going to try to hurt me however she could. But I was ready. Because I had something she did not know about. I had been planning my next move, and it was going to hit her where it hurt most. Her career. I started researching Keltra-Forge's policies. I looked up their code of conduct, their ethics guidelines, their rules about workplace relationships. It turned out that romantic relationships between executives were allowed, but they had to be disclosed to human resources. If they were not disclosed, it was grounds for termination. I doubted Vanessa and Trevor had disclosed anything. They had been too careful, too secretive. They thought no one knew, but I knew, and soon so would everyone else. I spent the next few days gathering more information about Keltra-Forge's policies. I downloaded their employee handbook from the company website. I read through every section on workplace conduct and ethics. The rules were clear. Any romantic or sexual relationship between employees in a supervisory relationship had to be reported to human resources within 10 days of the relationship beginning. Failure to disclose could result in disciplinary action, up to and including termination. Vanessa was vice president of operations. Trevor was director of sales. Technically, they were not in a direct supervisory relationship, but they both reported to the chief operating officer. They both sat on the executive leadership team. They collaborated on projects. There was overlap. Enough overlap that the relationship should have been disclosed. I was certain they had not disclosed it. If they had, someone would have said something. Word would have gotten around. Vanessa would have mentioned it. She would have prepared me for the gossip. But she had done none of that. She had kept it secret. I decided to do some digging into Trevor. I looked him up on LinkedIn. His profile was polished. Impressive credentials. He had worked at Forge for 3 years. Before that, he had been at a sales firm in Seattle. Before that, a tech startup in California. He looked successful, confident, the kind of guy who always landed on his feet. I wondered if Vanessa was his first affair, or if he had a history of this. I wondered if anyone at Forge knew. I called an old friend named Gregory. He worked in corporate recruiting and knew a lot of people in the Spokane business community. I asked him if he had heard anything about Trevor or Forge. Trevor? Yeah, I know the name, Gregory said. He has a reputation. Smart guy, good at sales. But he is also known for being a bit of a player. I have heard rumors that he had a thing with someone at his last company. Nothing confirmed. Just whispers. Interesting, I said. Why are you asking? Just curious. Gregory did not push, but I could tell he was suspicious. I decided my next step was to contact Forge's Human Resources Department, but I had to be careful. I could not just walk in and accuse Vanessa and Trevor of having an affair. I needed proof. I needed documentation. I needed to make sure my complaint could not be dismissed or ignored. So I went back to Trevor's house. This time I brought a video camera. It was small, discreet. I set it up in my truck and pointed it at his driveway. I waited. 3 hours later, Vanessa's car pulled up. She went inside. I recorded everything. She stayed for 2 hours. When she left, Trevor walked her to her car. They kissed again. I had it all on video. I burned the footage onto a USB drive. I made copies. I stored them in different places. My truck, Bethany's house, a safety deposit box at the bank. I was not taking any chances. The following Monday, I went to Forge. I did not go through the main entrance. I did not want to risk running into Vanessa or Trevor. Instead, I went around to the side entrance where the Human Resources office was located. I had looked up the name of the HR director online. Her name was Catherine. She had been with the company for 15 years. I walked into the HR office and asked to speak with Catherine. The receptionist asked if I had an appointment. I said I did not, but that it was urgent. She made a call. A few minutes later, Catherine came out. She was in her 50s, professional, no nonsense. How can I help you? She asked. I need to file a confidential complaint, I said. It is regarding a violation of company policy. Her expression did not change. Come with me. She led me to a private conference room. She closed the door and sat across from me. What is this about? She asked. I took a breath. My name is Austin. I am married to Vanessa, your vice president of operations. She has been having an affair with Trevor, your director of sales. The relationship has been going on for several months. According to your company's code of conduct, this relationship should have been disclosed to Human Resources. It has not been. Catherine's face remained neutral, but I saw something flicker in her eyes. Surprise, or maybe concern. Do you have proof of this relationship? She asked. I pulled out the USB drive and placed it on the table. Photos and video, dates and timestamps, everything you need. She picked up the drive. I will need to review this. If what you are saying is true, we will launch an internal investigation. How long will that take? A few weeks, maybe longer. These things take time. I understand. She stood. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We take violations of company policy very seriously. I left the building feeling a strange mix of emotions, relief, anger, satisfaction. I had done what I needed to do. Now it was out of my hands. That night, Vanessa came home late. She did not say where she had been. I did not ask. We were living like strangers. She went upstairs. I stayed in the living room. I poured myself a drink and sat in the dark, thinking about what would happen next. The investigation moved faster than I expected. 2 weeks later, I got a call from Julian. Vanessa's lawyer reached out, he said. They want to settle. Settle what? Everything. The divorce, the assets, They are offering a 50-50 split with no contest. They want to finalize it as quickly as possible. Why the sudden rush? I do not know, but something must have spooked them. I smiled. I knew exactly what had spooked them. Forge's investigation. Vanessa must have found out. She must have realized that her career was on the line. She was trying to cut her losses. Tell them no, I said. What? Tell them I am not interested in settling. I want to go through with the full process. Julian hesitated. Austin, a settlement could save you time and money, are you sure? I am sure. Okay, it is your call. I hung up. I was not doing this for the money. I was doing this for something else. Justice, closure, the satisfaction of knowing that Vanessa would not get to walk away unscathed. A week later, I got another call. This time it was from Catherine at Forge. I wanted to update you on the investigation, she said. We have concluded our review. Both Vanessa and Trevor have been found in violation of company policy. They have been terminated, effective immediately. I felt a rush of satisfaction. Thank you for letting me know. I also wanted to say that I am sorry this happened. I know this must have been difficult for you. It was, but I appreciate you taking it seriously. We always do. I hung up. I sat in my truck, staring at the phone. Vanessa had lost her job. Trevor had lost his job. Their affair was over. Their careers were in shambles. And I had been the one to make it happen. I felt no guilt, only a cold, hard sense of justice. Vanessa found out about the termination the same day it happened. I was not there when she got the news, but I could imagine the scene. Catherine calling her into the office, laying out the evidence, the photos, the video, the violation of company policy. Vanessa trying to explain, trying to defend herself. But there was no defense. The evidence was clear. She and Trevor had broken the rules. They had kept their relationship secret. They had lied. When Vanessa came home that evening, she looked destroyed. Her face was red. Her eyes were swollen. She had been crying. She did not say anything at first. She just stood in the doorway staring at me. It was you, she finally said. Yes. You went to my company. You reported me. I did. How could you do that? Her voice cracked. You ruined my career. You ruined my life. You ruined it yourself, I said. You made the choice to have an affair. You made the choice to lie. You made the choice to break your company's rules. All I did was tell the truth. You did this to punish me. No, I did this because it was the right thing to do. You and Trevor violated company policy. You put the company at risk. You lied to everyone. Someone needed to hold you accountable. She started crying again. Not quiet tears this time. Full sobs. She collapsed onto the couch. I have nothing now, she said. No job, no career, no future. I felt nothing. No sympathy, no regret. She had brought this on herself. What about Trevor? I asked. Did they fire him too? She nodded. He is furious. He blames me. He says I should have been more careful. He says this is my fault. I almost laughed. So he is already turning on you. Shut up. Vanessa, you need to understand something. Trevor was never going to leave his wife for you. He was never going to risk his career for you. He was using you. And now that it is all blown up, he is blaming you. That is who he is. You do not know anything about him. I know enough. She stood up. I want you out of this house. No. This is my house. No. It is our house, and I am not leaving. If you want out, you leave. She stared at me. For a moment, I thought she might say something else. But she did not. She just turned and walked upstairs. I heard the guest room door slam. The next few weeks were tense. Vanessa stayed in the house, but we barely spoke. She spent most of her time in the guest room. I stayed in the main bedroom. We avoided each other as much as possible. The mediation date was approaching. I was ready. During this time, I got a call from an old colleague named Owen. He worked for a different construction firm. We had collaborated on a few projects over the years. He said he had heard about my situation. Word had gotten around. Spokane is a small town. People talk. I am sorry about what you are going through, Owen said. But I wanted to let you know about an opportunity. We are opening a new branch in Missoula, Montana. We need someone to manage it. Someone experienced. Someone we can trust. I thought of you. I was surprised. Why me? Because you are good at what you do, and because I think a fresh start might be good for you. I thought about it. A fresh start. A new city. A chance to leave all this behind. Let me think about it, I said. Take your time. The position does not open for another 3 months, but I wanted to give you first shot at it. Thanks, Owen. I appreciate it. That night I thought about the offer. Missoula was not far, just a few hours away. I could visit Bethany and Portland more easily. I could start over, build something new, leave Vanessa and all the pain behind. The more I thought about it, the more it made sense. The mediation finally happened. Vanessa and I sat across from each other in a conference room. Our lawyers were there. A mediator was there. It was cold, professional, no emotion. The mediator went through the assets, the house, the savings, the retirement accounts. Everything was split down the middle. Vanessa did not fight it. She looked defeated, hollow, like all the fight had gone out of her. Her lawyer tried to argue for spousal support. Julian shut it down. Vanessa had been making more money than me for the past 2 years. She had no grounds for support. Her lawyer knew it. He did not push hard. By the end of the session, everything was settled. The divorce would be finalized in 60 days. We would sell the house, we would split the proceeds, we would go our separate ways. As we left the building, Vanessa stopped me. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "What? Do you hate me?" I thought about it. "No," I said. "I do not hate you. I just do not care anymore." She looked like I had slapped her, but I meant it. I did not hate her. I felt nothing. She was a stranger to me now. Someone I used to know. Someone I used to love. But not anymore. I walked away. I got in my truck and drove to the job site. The warehouse renovation was finished. It looked good, clean, solid. Exactly how I had planned it. My boss was there. He shook my hand. "Great work, Austin," he said. "This is one of the best projects we have done." "Thanks," I said. "I heard you might be leaving us." I nodded. "Owen offered me a job in Missoula. I think I am going to take it." "I hate to lose you, but I understand. Sometimes you need a fresh start." "Yeah, I think I do." That night, I called Owen. "I am in," I said. "When do I start?" 3 months. We will get everything set up. You are going to do great, Austin." "Thanks." I hung up. I felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. The divorce was finalized 8 weeks later. I signed the papers. Vanessa signed the papers. It was done. We sold the house. I took my half of the money and put it into savings. I packed up my things. I said goodbye to the few friends I had in Spokane. Bethany drove up to help me move. We loaded everything into a truck and drove to Missoula. The new job was waiting. A new apartment was waiting. A new life was waiting. As we drove, Bethany asked me how I felt. "Relieved," I said. "Good. You deserve to be happy, Austin." "I am getting there." And I was. Slowly. One day at a time. 3 months into my new job in Missoula, I got an unexpected email. It was from someone named Harold. He worked in finance at Forge. I did not recognize the name, but the subject line caught my attention. It said, "Thought you should know." I opened the email. Harold explained that he had been following the fallout from Vanessa and Trevor's termination. He said he had always respected professionalism and was disgusted by what they had done. But there was more. He had discovered something during the internal investigation, something that had not been made public. Trevor had been padding his expense reports for over a year. He had been submitting false receipts for business trips. He had been billing personal expenses to the company. Meals with Vanessa, hotel rooms, even a weekend trip to Portland that had nothing to do with work. The total amount was over $30,000. When the investigation uncovered this, Forge had quietly asked Trevor to repay the money. He refused. He claimed the expenses were legitimate. The company threatened legal action. Trevor hired a lawyer. It turned into a mess. Eventually, Forge decided to pursue criminal charges for fraud and embezzlement. Harold said the case was moving forward. Trevor was facing serious consequences. He could lose everything: his reputation, his career, maybe even his freedom. I read the email twice. Then I leaned back in my chair and smiled. Trevor had always seemed so confident, so untouchable. But now he was unraveling, and he had no one to blame but himself. I wrote back to Harold. I thanked him for the information. I told him I appreciated his integrity. He responded an hour later. He said he was glad someone had stood up to them. He said the company was better off without people like Vanessa and Trevor. A week later, I got another update. This time, from Julian. He said Vanessa had tried to file a lawsuit against me. She claimed I had defamed her by reporting the affair to Forge. She claimed I had interfered with her employment. Julian said the lawsuit had no merit. Everything I had reported was true. I had proof. Vanessa's lawyer knew it. The lawsuit was dismissed within a week. But the fact that she had tried showed how desperate she had become. She was scrambling, trying to find someone to blame, trying to salvage what little she had left. I felt no sympathy. Around the same time, I heard through a mutual acquaintance that Vanessa had moved back in with her parents in Seattle. She had not found a new job. Her reputation in the Spokane business community was ruined. No one wanted to hire her. No one wanted to work with her. She had become a cautionary tale. Trevor, meanwhile, had moved to California. He was trying to start over, but the criminal charges followed him. Harold sent me another email a few months later. He said Trevor had been convicted of fraud. He had been sentenced to 18 months in prison and ordered to repay the money he had stolen. His career was over. I thought about how confident Trevor had been, how he had waved at the clerk that day in the lobby, how he had kissed Vanessa in front of his house thinking no one was watching, how he had thought he was untouchable. He was wrong. Vanessa tried to reach out to me once. She sent a text. It said she was sorry. It said she had made mistakes. It said she hoped I could forgive her someday. I did not respond. I deleted the message and moved on. The job in Missoula turned out to be exactly what I needed. The firm was smaller than the one I had worked for in Spokane, but the work was good. I managed a team of 10 people. We handled commercial projects across Montana, retail spaces, office buildings, warehouses. I was busy. I was challenged. I was respected. I rented a small apartment on the edge of town. It was quiet, simple. I bought new furniture. I hung a few pictures. I started hiking on weekends. I explored the mountains. I found a routine. I found peace. Bethany visited a few times. She said I seemed different, lighter, happier. I told her I was, and I meant it. I also started dating again. Nothing serious at first, just casual dinners, coffee. I was not ready for anything more. But it felt good to talk to someone new, someone who did not know my history, someone who saw me for who I was now, not who I had been. One evening, I got a call from Gregory, my friend from Spokane. He said he had heard I was doing well in Missoula. He said he was proud of me. Then he told me something I had not expected. He said Vanessa had reached out to him. She had asked if he knew where I was. She said she wanted to apologize. She said she wanted closure. "What did you tell her?" I asked. I told her I did not know where you were. I told her it was probably best if she left you alone. Good. She did not sound good, Austin. She sounded broken. That is not my problem. Gregory was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You are right. It is not." We talked for a few more minutes, then hung up. I thought about what he had said. Vanessa sounded broken. Part of me felt a flicker of something. Not sympathy. Maybe just acknowledgement. She had lost a lot: her job, her reputation, her marriage, her future. But then I remembered the way she had looked at Trevor that day in the parking lot, the way she had lied to my face, the way she had blamed me for her own choices. And I felt nothing again. She had made her bed. Now she had to lie in it. As for Trevor, I heard one final update about him. Harold sent me an article from a California newspaper. Trevor had been released from prison after serving 9 months. He was living in a halfway house. He was working as a delivery driver. His life had collapsed completely. The article quoted him as saying he had learned his lesson. He said he regretted his choices. He said he was trying to rebuild. I read the article once and then deleted it. I did not care about Trevor's redemption arc. I did not care about his regrets. He had made his choices. He had faced the consequences. That was enough for me. Vanessa and Trevor had both paid the price for their betrayal. Vanessa lost her career, her reputation, and her marriage. She was back living with her parents, struggling to find work, haunted by the choices she had made. Trevor lost everything too: his job, his freedom, his future. He went from a confident executive to a convicted felon working odd jobs just to survive. The affair that they thought was secret, that they thought would never catch up to them, had destroyed them both completely. A year after I moved to Missoula, I was promoted to senior project manager. I was overseeing the largest contract the firm had ever landed. A mixed-use development downtown. 6 buildings, residential and commercial. It was ambitious. It was exciting. It was mine. One evening, I stood on the roof of one of the buildings. The sun was setting over the mountains. The air was cool. The city stretched out below me. I thought about where I had been a year ago, sitting in my truck outside Vanessa's office, broken, humiliated, unsure of what to do next. Now I was here, strong, whole, in control of my life. I took a deep breath and smiled. Sometimes the best revenge is just moving forward.